We got our first look at Star Wars Jedi Survivor gameplay, and judging from those 9 minutes alone, this looks like the Fallen Order sequel we wanted in every way possible. Hey, welcome to the channel, and let's break down everything the gameplay showed off, because there was a lot to see. First off, despite the fact IGN were using an early build for the footage, it looks absolutely stunning. Cal steps onto the war-torn world of Kobo, and immediately this planet looks so much more alive and lived in than all of Fallen Order's worlds combined. And not just because of current gen's graphics capabilities. There's a believable ecosystem at work here. Kobo is a land inhabited by all manner of gigantic and tiny creatures, almost all of which are desperate to rip Cal's face off. The combat in particular looks more polished and smoother than ever, executions are as satisfying as they were in Fallen Order, and more varied in the sequel. And force powers are just as strong as ever with upgraded animations and additional effects. It was never not going to be fun grabbing a rock launched by an enemy with the force and hurling it right back at them. Back in Fallen Order, Cal's powers were fairly limited, but we've seen at least one new power added with the ability to launch enemies into the air and bring them crashing back down again. So hopefully his connection to the Force has only grown stronger between games. And that's before we get to the addition of the ability to dual-wield lightsabers. You thought Darth Maul's double-bladed style saber was cool? Well, that's very Fallen Order. Carrying 2 full power sabers in each hand is what the powerful Jedis are doing nowadays. It's not just for looks though, the dual wielding opens up a whole different fighting style for players to explore, with a new stance, a different style of blocking, so players are going to get a lot of value out of learning how each approach works, and how to get the best out of them in different encounters. Although, judging by what we've seen so far, dual wielding works just fine on big creatures, and groups of little enemies regardless. Thankfully, it doesn't look like Cal has lost any of the badass Jedi powers he picked up from the last game. All his mobility and lightsaber skills have carried over. The showcase ended with Cal using his psychometry, an ability that allows him to pull info from a person, place, or thing using his powerful connection to the Force on a poor prospector who wound up on the wrong side of a droid's blaster, allowing him to read their echo and learn a little lore about the area, so it looks like we're going to be burning hours collecting all the Force echoes just like we did in Fallen Order. Probably the biggest thing we took away from the showcase though was the sheer amount of enemy variety encountered on just a 9-minute jaunt around just one of what we hope will be several planets we'll get to visit in Jedi Survivor. There's a huge breadth of different creatures, soldiers, and droids to fight. Definitely a step up from Fallen Order's constant waves of stormtroopers, although they definitely feature prominently. Sure, a lot of the enemies fall into familiar types. Swarms of smaller monsters, huge imposing grunt-like monsters that throw rocks at you and take massive damage from a lightsaber, but we also got a look at a couple of glaive-wielding aliens filling a similar role to Fallen Order's scout troop commanders, but weirdly it's the droids we're most excited for. B1 and B2 battle droids are swarming on Kobo, and for those well versed in Star Wars lore, there's even a massive Lucrehulk droid control ship nestled deep in the middle of the area Cal is exploring. So the prequel era is getting some love here. B1 droids are as weak and as wisecracking as you'd expect, shouting abuse and panicked orders at each other as Cal cuts through them with relative ease. And if they have a broad range of jokes and voice lines to fall back on, fans of a certain age who lived through the prequel and Clone Wars cartoon era will have a lot of fun taking them apart, judging from what we've seen so far. B2 droids, on the other hand, look more than capable of bringing a careless Jedi down, so there's plenty of varied and seemingly challenging combat for players to get their teeth into. Just give us some droidicas to fight, and we can live out our childhood Jedi dreams very happily. So, we've got stronger force powers, new ways to wield a lightsaber. I mean, carrying 2 isn't exactly groundbreaking, but it's been a long time since The Force Unleashed 2, alright? And more enemies than you can throw an Ewok at. Just from 9 minutes of footage, Star Wars Jedi Survivor looks like the Fallen Order sequel we've always wanted in every single way. We honestly can't wait to dive back into Cal Kestis' story again, but what's got you most excited for the sequel? Force powers, lightsaber stances, all the enemies you can slice to pieces? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all the news while we wait for Jedi Survivor to release. Thanks for watching.